creativity brings with it different forms of expression.
Yeah.
And so with womanhood, with femininity, especially in today's culture, it's so easy to be locked into a box. It's so
Yep.
easy to be locked into this is the way that it has always been done, especially as a Black woman, where, like I mentioned, being raised by baby boomers, tradition and values
Yeah.
and domesticity that is seen in high regard. So veering away from that, it's still an expression of womanhood.
Hi, everybody. Lee Scott here. Thank you for watching and are listening to this week's episode of Leading with Lee, where we talk about life, leadership, and legacy. And we want to help you unleash your capacity and level of leadership. I am so excited today because I literally have one of my best friends in the whole wide world on this episode. And we're still in Women's History Month. So I asked her to come on. Please welcome to Leading with Lee, my beloved friend, my dear friend who I've known for at least a decade and a half, Deja Brown. How you doing, Deja?
Hello, hello. I'm great. I'm on Leading with Lee, and I just want to just take a few minutes just to say thank you for just opening up your platform to have me on. I'm super excited to be talking with you and celebrating Women's History Month.
Oh, most deaf. If there's anybody that I was gonna have on here, it probably should have been you in the top three people besides my mama and my grandmama. Uh moving on. Um, let's talk about that for a while because obviously it's Women's History Month and there's a lot that's transpiring happening, but I think it's important for people to have some context about you. So if you just take a few moments to share about you and what you do and your story, I don't want to tell it for you. So could you just do that for us and share the people about Deja, my friend Deja Brown?
Of course. I always say, never let anyone tell your story but you. If you are alive and well, you need to be the one to narrate your story.
That's good.
Um, but born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi.
Jacktown.
Jackson, Mississippi, actually Northwest Jackson. Yeah, born and raised by my grandparents, actually. My mom, single mother growing up, didn't really have a relationship with my father up until like my early to mid 20s.
Hmm.
So being raised primarily by my grandparents, baby boomers, just a value system, belief system that was ingrained in me from the start. Um, so yeah, have a brother, call him my little big bro. Um, and I think one thing that we often sharedly at times is being the oldest. There's a sense of just a level of
Yeah.
responsibility, independence that we, just have. And so just bringing that to the spaces that I'm in, even as early as in grade school.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, wife to my boo thing, Taylor.
Uh-huh.
Yes, and recently became residents of Texas. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. And I'm sure as we progress, you'll get to know a little bit more. So
Yeah. Well, once again, thank you, sis, for coming on leading. Um, let's talk a little bit about Women's History Month. Obviously, in the last episode I shared some of my thoughts about Women's History Month, but um, obviously we somebody decided let's make March Women's History Month. And let's focus in on women, and also the 8th of March is International Women's Day, right? Kind of talk to me a little bit about what does Women's History Month mean to you, and why do you think it's important?
well, first and foremost, there are still areas, pillars of society where our perspectives, our experiences, our stories are not shared. And not only are they not shared, they're not permitted in those spaces.
Talk about it.
Um, and so I think it is significant and of utmost importance that we be allowed to have a space to share us, to share our pain, our joys, our experiences, our trials, and whatever in space of influence that is, be it the marketplace, education, entertainment. It's important. I mean, from the dawn of time, women have always been influential, and so we need to honor that, and we need that to be seen and shared and honored. So super important that we have that space.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No, I think that's a great response. As you were talking, I mean, you brought up some of the unconscious inequities that we just have within our society and culture, um, and some of the things that we don't recognize as important. I kind of speak a little bit to that as far as like, what are your thoughts about the state of women's issues right now in our country? It seems like there's a lot of conversations that are happening around just a multiplicity of things. I mean, you could take any route you want to take on this question because there seems like a lot. Like, what are some of the things that you're thinking about and you're processing as we look at the state of women here in our country and in our culture?
um, I'll take entertainment, for instance. I'm a storyteller. I love writing. So I want to see more women in that space,
Yeah,
not necessarily in front of the camera, taking the stories that may often have been written by men, but behind the camera. Again, the importance of story,
yeah,
taking your lived in experiences and displaying that because there's so much truth. There invaluable lessons, that need to be shared. And so just taking that one instance, I don't think it's celebrated enough. And
wow,
to have that just displayed, I think it's so important. So kind of a different response, but that's just where my heart is. Definitely entertainment, the arts. I mean, we're
yeah,
living in the age of the
yeah.
creator economy. And so more women creators, and having their art taken seriously.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I mean, that's a great response. I mean, literally, as you were saying that, Deja, the first thing that came to my mind was the conversation we were having this past week about the Oscars.
Yep.
And last week I was watching an interview between two women, uh, Kate Blanchett and the his history maker Michelle Yeoh, who just became the first Asian woman to win an Academy Award for Best Actress. I mean, what a historic career she has had.
Yes.
And they both were talking about the movies that they got nominated for were originally written for men, which
Wow.
was a shocker to me. Like Kate was saying that Tar was originally written for a man, and how every uh I don't know why I'm spacing. Everything everywhere all at once was actually originally written for man, and they end up changing the scripts to really center around these unique characters. And I think that that's powerful. You even spoke to this a little bit, but there were a few women who got snubbed this year in the awards process who could have been who actually directed films. The director of Till didn't get as many
Woman
nominations. Right, right. She didn't get as many nominations as we would have expected her to get. Viola Davis, people were very shocked that Viola did not get
King.
another nomination. But that's kind of part of the thing. You're always having to overcome some interesting realities. And I think that's really good. Or a really great perspective to have about creating. I just with that in mind, talk to me a little bit more about why is that important for women to create? Because I think, at least from my perspective, I've never heard anybody give an answer to that. Like, what are your thoughts about like why is it so important for women to understand how to be creatives and not just in a narrow frame? Because it always seems like we expect you all to just create from, you know, nurturing spaces, but we like, we only expect certain things. Like why is it so important to bring a expansive perspective in creating?
Um, I want to go back to what you mentioned about the nurturing place. Me personally, this is my honest opinion. I believe that deep within the recesses of woman, we have an innate ability to harness and tap into our emotions
Yeah.
um, in a way that is just innate to who we are. And I think within that, that hosts and incubates creative ability. And so,
Wow.
in doing that, you're showing up as your authentic self, and you're able to bring, like I mentioned, the power of story. And that doesn't always encompass, the norms or, cultural ideas of womanhood. Um, that also taps into intellect, that also taps into tech, whatever sphere of influence that you are in. I believe that you're able to just bring that to that space.
Yeah. Oh, that's a phenomenal response, Deja. That's phenomenal. I think that will help a lot of women and just people in general as they're watching this or listening to our conversation. I think people miss out on engaging in new ways because they are too busy trying to only well, I can only do this certain thing because this is what people expect from me, right? We get into the 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 what's the right word I want to use? We get into the game of trying to temper ourselves to make other people comfortable and not just doing what it is that's in us to do, right? Um, I think it's a phenomenal response. I want to shift a little bit
Mhm.
um to you personally because I think that, you know, as I stated in my intro, I've known you for literally a decade and a half for the
That's
most part.
crazy.
And
That's
I
crazy.
mean, it's absolutely insane. Um, but kind of talk to me about your thoughts about what you're discovering about yourself in your womanhood at this moment.
Ooh, that's deep.
I
I,
it's loaded. I know.
it is. It is. I want to go back to your point and tie in to what you just asked. Um, Creativity brings with it different forms of expression.
Yeah.
And so with womanhood, with femininity, um, especially in today's culture, it's so easy to be locked into a box. It's so
Yep.
easy to be locked into this is the way that it has always been done, especially as a Black woman, where, like I mentioned, being raised by baby boomers, tradition and values
Yeah.
and domesticity that is seen in high regard. So veering away from that, um, is still an expression of womanhood. And so and what I am learning about myself is that my ideas of how Deja shows up in the world, that is evolving. And and in order for me to show up as my best self, I have to be okay with that evolution of me and putting on the shelf any notions or ideas of who I thought I was.
Yeah.
For instance, I mean, getting married, my maiden name is Moore. So, like Deja Brown, who is she? Like, I have to,
Wow.
that's another level of evolving. It's just like, who am I? This new last name that I've acquired, what comes with that? You know, and how must I show up a different version of myself to be fully effective and authentic?
Wow. I think we could end the podcast there. You you have given such a beautiful synopsis of the importance of self-discovery and how it is ongoing. I and you're defining it. You're figuring out how to become that woman as we are literally speaking, right? Like you have been married what 2 years already almost?
Almost three. It'll be three in
Almost
May. Yeah.
wow, it's been 3. God dog.
Yep.
Woo!
Yep.
Yeesh.
Time
Uh,
is flying.
my goodness. I'm shook by just the thought of that, but like you all been married 3 years. And so just to realize like the acceleration of time, just
Yes.
the level of experiences that you are having so quickly, it is now causing you to reevaluate and reassess what it means to be Deja, right?
Mhm.
And kind of staying in that vein, talk to me about a little bit about how are you navigating that because you're having new experiences right now
Yes.
in your
Yes.
life, in your career. Like, how are you figuring out how to stay centered in that regard?
Yeah. I always say this. Me and my husband, we got married 3 months into COVID and 3 days before George Floyd was murdered. So we got married in chaos. And I think that is the tenor that we've had to kind of go about life, not chaotic, but being flexible and adapting to change. Um, you know, therapists often say that you should not have more than maybe one, two at the max, like major life changes per year.
Hmm.
So we got married during the pandemic. I lost loved ones 2020. I moved to a college town because my husband was he was finishing up his degree. Being married, moving, changing your last name all in 1 year. It was tough. It was tough. Um, but I
Wow.
think the thing that anchored me in the midst of just life altering changes was trying to find things that were stable.
Yeah.
Um, and that is maybe obviously my faith, but my husband's love for me, the vision that I had for myself,
Yeah.
um, my values, my core values. So finding pockets of stability in an ever-changing world um, just helped me stay sane, honestly.
Yeah. Well, Deja, that's you have been through it, you know. And I think we all can reflect on the pandemic at its height. It was very stretching and breaking and all these different things. And so we all are recovering. We are literally emotionally recovering. I was saying this to somebody, and we're gonna go to break here in a moment, but I was saying this to somebody that we have all experienced, those of us who survived uh 2020, 2021, and even 2022, we have a collective trauma globally.
Yeah,
Like if you made it out, there is a collective trauma. Like I think people's bodies chemistry was changed.
yeah,
I think people's psychology was changed. I think there were so many things that happened with folks in the last few years. Like I know there are things that are different about myself. I mean, the way I respond to things, how I function has changed so much as a result of that experience. So I think we are are in a new era, but I will say to your point, Deja, you are surviving and thriving, sis, and it's just beautiful to watch. And I know that there's a lot of difficulty in that, but there is hope, and you're inspiring me. So I just want you to know that.
Yeah, that means a lot. That
I
means a
want you to
lot.
know. Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna take a break real quick, and we'll be right back after this message.
Hi, everybody. Lee here, and I want to give some information to you. Do you need someone to host an event or come and speak at your event? You can now book yours truly. Book me for your event by visiting www.leeascott.com. I am so excited to connect with you and do work with you. Much love, and let's get started.
And we are back. I'm so excited that you are still here, and I hope you've been enjoying my conversation with my one of my best friends in the whole wide world. I love her so much, and I'm so grateful that Deja, you have been on this episode of Leading. Let's continue our conversation because there's one thing I know that has been on my mind in particular, as it relates to what we're talking about. It's Women's History Month. You're sharing your own experience, but I'm wondering, even though we young, like we are young, y'all. But we have lived life a little bit longer. What are some advice you would give to young women or women in general about what they are building? And when I mean building, I mean whatever they're building. Like, what is something that you would just say to other women about what they are doing right now?
Um, Before I moved to Texas, I had a pastor that would always say, preparation time is never lost time.
Mm,
And
mm.
remember that no matter how beautiful a building is, if the infrastructure is jank, it doesn't matter. You will never see the infrastructure of a building until the building collapses. And that lets you know that the infrastructure, there was something wrong with it. And so how do you build a healthy
Wow,
infrastructure?
wow,
Prepare. And
wow.
so that if I had to attach a word, you know how we have like, words for the year, my word would be preparation. What does that look like? That looks like literally me shifting my mindset. What are my beliefs about myself that could taint the places that I'm going?
Yeah,
The places, um, the responsibilities are weighty and wonderful. And whatever you believe about yourself can cause that to collapse. So preparing, what are you reading? What are you ingesting? What
yeah.
podcast are you listening to? Who are you allowing to mess up your infrastructure, for lack of a better word? What are you putting inside of your body?
Wow.
Are you literally using food to fuel you for the next place? If
Wow.
you had to run, literally run across the street to get that next check, to go to the next level, or to get that equipment, could you do it? I mean, the simple things. So remember, in building and we talk about generational wealth, generational
Right.
legacy. Um, Preparation time is never lost time.
Deja, let's pass the offering plates, folks, because
Awesome
yeah,
play.
I think I think you all need to follow Deja Brown at I am Deja Brown on all social media platforms because that was phenomenal. That was great, Deja. Like, preparation is about the infrastructure and not about what we see in the building.
At
That's
all.
profound. Like, do you like whether men or women listen to this? That's the whole thing. Like,
Mhm.
it is hinging upon that one profound thought that it determines everything. That's so good, Deja. So good. Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm gonna go out of order with my next question because that leads me to something that I'm I generally ask towards the end, but I'm gonna go out of order because how are you doing it? How I like I've said this all the time. I ask this question: with people all the time. How are we paying it forward? Because there was a question that was asked to me
Yeah.
3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, well, 4 years ago now, and I'm always thinking about that. How are you actually fulfilling it? How are you paying it forward? How are you investing in other people with that same thought process?
Yeah, that's good. So one book that I have just been meditating on, feeding on in this season, of course, Woman Evolved by Sarah Jakes Roberts. I recommend that book highly to any woman or man where you are not satisfied with your current station in life, be it financial, spiritual, whatever. If you're
Wow.
looking to advance to the next level, read that book. Um, I mentioned that me and my husband were recently Texans. We moved a year ago, and that transition was hard. And so, one of my best friends, who's like a sister to me, recently moved like 2 weeks ago. And so we've just been instrumental in helping her transition because we
Yeah.
know what that's like when you are leaving a place that has been comfort to you, that has been that's where mama is, daddy
Yep.
is, sister, that's where family is, and you want more. You know that you have the capacity for more, but you don't know how to step out.
Yep.
Being there for that person. Hey, get a box. Just get a box. Start packing. I'm here if you need support, if you need encouragement. This is how I did it. So
Yeah.
this is how you can too. And paying it forward isn't always monetary.
Yeah.
It's resources, it's advice, it's support, it's encouragement.
Yes.
So seeing a young lady who is going through what I have been through, reaching back and saying, you know what, this is how I did it, and this is how you can too.
Wow. Wow. I'm I should have had you on earlier, Deja. Charges to my head and not my heart. Okay.
Be here.
Right, right. We are. Um, so my next question for you is I mean, you already kind of touched on another question, but what are some other things that you might be reading or listening to or watching at this present moment, and you're actually gaining some information or some uh impact from that stuff besides Woman Evolve?
Yeah, yeah. The word.
Oh
Obviously,
yeah.
and I think for me, like taking the word mobility, that was something that just stuck out profoundly to me. And that was Romans 12, 1 and 2. And I'll paraphrase it. When your belief system is renewed, transformation follows.
Wow.
That right there.
Wow.
When your mind is renewed, when you let old ideas go, transformation has no choice but to follow you.
Wow.
And in that, like I said, I have been being from the South, Mississippi, soul food, fried chicken, macaroni and
Come on.
cheese, ain't nothing wrong with it. But here's the thing, your destiny, that may not be fuel for you to get to your destiny always. And so having that shift that, hey, I can't eat like this and expect to fulfill purpose.
Hmm.
Like that has to change. And
Yep.
so putting certain stuff down, picking certain stuff up, moving my body, 20 pounds down, by the way.
Let's
In addition to
go.
that, but renewing your mind, letting go of your belief systems, transformation follows. So, in addition to Woman Evolve, I've just been on my whole Sarah Jakes thing. So, reading her first book, Lost and Found, give it like that space, cultivating her story. Yeah, setting the stage for how she evolved to where she is now.
Wow. I mean, I could go on a whole ask Deja 15 more questions after that sharing of information. But I'm not gonna do that because we'll be here for 4 hours and
Indeed.
it will be a mess. So it'll be great, but it'll be great
Yeah,
for people to listen to. We're gonna have to do a part two at some point because this has been so
I'm here.
I I
I'm here.
I, I want to get to my second to last question because I think you already have kind of hinted at somebody in particular, but who are some of the women that inspire you? Because
Hmm.
they, I don't think, I think all of us have been inspired by somebody. I know for me, the women that inspired me is the woman that birthed me, Valora Scott, and my grandmothers, Nellie Jean Scott and Ruby Forrest Michaels. These women inspire me every single day. They encourage me every single day. They are the reason why I keep going and keep pushing. Who are some women that inspire you?
Um, it could be easy to say my mom, my grandma, and they most definitely do. Um, but I want to go outside of family per se. There is a woman, Candace Ford, and I'll probably
Hmm.
send her the link to this interview when it's all said and done. But honestly, it was her and her husband that just opened the doors for us to leave and to
Yeah,
transition and to plant ourselves in the good soil of Texas that we're in, you know.
yeah,
Um, but she is a boss. She is confident. She knows who she is and who she is not. And she is not
yeah.
afraid to step into any room and let that room know I am here. And that confidence has been what I have gleaned from to believe that I can do the same too. And it's not arrogance, it's not any of that. It's I know who created me. I
Yep.
know what he has said about me, and I know that it is truth.
Yeah.
And because that is truth, I can walk into any room and utilize that authority to make things that are not as though they are. And
Wow.
so she is a woman that I admired. I literally saw her um, start a bakery in her home and transition to a brick and mortar um, just because she believed that she could. And so, yeah, I celebrate her and definitely honor her.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, we often hear this conversation, especially in our culture, is that representation matters. And I think
Absolutely.
for you with Candace, she may not do exactly what you do, but she's a representation of what's possible for you,
Absolutely. Yep.
right? And I think that's huge. So, I'm gonna get to my last question, Deja. It has been an absolute joy for me to talk to my friend
Yes, this has been fun.
and have her come on leading. But I ask this question to every single person that comes on leading, and I think it's a fun question. And it's always interesting to get the answers that I get. Some of them are very like, you know, churchy and spiritual, and they are people that are deeply proud of faith. And then I get some of the most ghetto songs that you will ever expect. I've gotten movie theme songs. I've gotten a lot of things. So, uh, what is what song will you use to describe yourself and why?
That is a really good question. So I'm gonna flip it on you. If I could have a theme song for this current season, we've been
Mm.
talking about evolving and preparation. It would be "Prepare" by Jill Scott, and the lyrics
Hmm.
are so profound to me that I actually have them on my phone. So if you would allow me just to read a snippet to you,
Sure, sure. Because you're always
so
prepared.
let's go, let's go, let's go.
I know
So
my
she
friend.
said, I've been reading my old journals, checking to see where my head has been. And I've been apologizing to some people, some bridges I needed to mend. And I've been eating more greens, getting my body alkaline. I'm going to be super fine. But I've been letting some old ideas go. I'm making room for my life to grow. I just want to be prepared. I just want to be prepared and getting myself ready for what's coming to me. So that is my theme song for this season. Yeah, that's my creed. That's what I live by. That is what it is. Be
But
prepared.
Deja, I am so rooting for you, and I'm so happy you said yes because I think this is going to be so encouraging for a lot of people. So Deja, 20 pounds lighter brown. Thank
Let's
you for
go.
coming on, sister.
Let's go.
And I love you dearly. And I'm so inspired by your story. So thank you so much.
Yes, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
Thank you for watching and or listening to this week's episode of Leading with Lee. If you have not done it yet, subscribe on YouTube and all podcasting platforms. If you want to get more information and connect with me, visit me at www.leeascott.com or follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Lee A. Scott II or Lee A. Scott II. So, thank you for watching. Much love, and let's get started.